30 police do not want you to forget about this missing mother and daughter. Investigators have exhausted all leads and still nothing 5 years later.
CBS 4's on.
Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be discussing the missing case of a mother and daughter, Daniela and Liliana Moreno. At the time of their disappearance, Daniela was 7 years old and Liliana was 43. It will be 6 years in May since anyone has heard from them. Gustavo Castano, the biological father of Daniela, has been named the primary suspect in Liliana and Daniela's disappearance. He was the last person to see them or have any contact with them before they disappeared. Liliana was born in Santiago de Cali, Colombia on December 24, 1973. She was the oldest child of 4. She was described by her family as being dependable, smart, responsible, and overall just a joy to be around. Liliana was determined and she graduated in 2001 from the University of El Valle with a degree in architecture. After graduation, she decided to come visit the United States. During her time here, she enjoyed it. She even got married to a man named Daniel. There's not really much to know about their relationship, but it ultimately doesn't work out and she decides to move back to Colombia. She stayed there for about a year until she decided that she wanted to return back to the United States. She decided to settle down in Miami, Florida, where she already had a couple friends living. During a night out with friends, Liliana meets Gustavo Castano at a club that he owned. They were attracted to each other right away, and things just progressed from there. They were never really in an official relationship as Gustavo was already married, but Liliana had no idea. In January of 2004, Liliana learns that she is pregnant with Daniela. She was super excited as Liliana had previously suffered from multiple miscarriages. When she shared the news with Gustavo, he did not share the same reaction and even suggested that she get an abortion. After Liliana ignored his request, they stopped all communication. Liliana went on to having Daniela, who was born on October 7, 2007. Liliana thought that it was best if she sent Daniela back to Colombia to live with her family as she worked on obtaining her degree in the United States. Daniela was eventually sent back to the United States when she was 6 years old to live with her mom, Liliana. One day, while Daniela and Liliana were running errands, they ran into Gustavo. They started back communicating and decided that it would be a good idea if they became partners in a business. Everything was going smoothly for a little while until Gustavo's family started to have suspicions about the situations. Not only did he have to admit that he was having an affair, but he also had to tell them that he had fathered a child with another person other than his wife. He was forced to cut off all communications. Huge impact on her life. She started losing resources, money, and clients because, as we remember, she was partnered with Gustavo and they just decided all of a sudden to stop communicating. She decided once again it was best if she went back to Colombia to have the support of her family. But this time when she returned to Colombia, her family noticed that Liliana was acting different. She seemed worried all the time, she was depressed, and just one day she decided to give her family paperwork that would make them guardians of Daniela if anything ever happened to her when she was in the United States. She wanted them to sign these papers immediately and have it set in stone. When her family grew concerned and asked her why all of a sudden for the rush, she said, I just live kind of far and I just want to make sure Daniela is taken care of just in case something ever happens to me. Liliana eventually moves back to Miami, Florida. When she returns, Gustavo starts threatening to hurt her or her family, who lives in Colombia. Liliana gets so concerned about these threats that she decides to reach out to the Colombian consulate with her concerns about Gustavo's threats. She never goes to the appointment at the consulate to confirm these claims, and it's unclear why not. In April of 2016, the two established communication again. He requests if she would like to become business partners with him again in the business. This makes Liliana feel uneasy, and she expresses her disappointment in how he's treated her in the past, but she ultimately forgives him. On May 30th, 2016, according to Gustavo, he arrived at their apartment around 11 a.m., where Liliana was cooking, and during that time she offered if he wanted to eat with them. He declined, but he requested if Liliana and Daniela wanted to come with him to Home Depot. She agreed. During the ride there, Gustavo states that him and Liliana got into a heated argument, and she requested that he pull over and let them out immediately. After he drops them off, Gustavo drives to a nearby warehouse where he works, completed some work tasks, and then he says he returns to the location where he dropped off Liliana and Daniela previously, but they were no longer there. He also mentions that he has never heard from them again. They were last seen in Hialeah Gardens, Florida on May 30th, 2016, near Home Depot. A few days after Daniela and Liliana go missing, Gustavo's work warehouse in another business establishment called Discount Print was burglarized. Discount Print had security cameras on the outside of the establishment, and the interesting thing is the only thing that was stolen during the burglary was a digital video recorder. What's interesting is that on May 31st, 2016, Gustavo goes to the Discount Print store and asks about the surveillance system and requests if he can have the DVR recordings that were later stolen. Gustavo's cell phone record shows that he was in the area during the time that the work warehouse was burglarized. Police also later found some paperwork related to Liliana in a dumpster that was located near his work warehouse. On May 31st, 2016, Gustavo also calls Liliana's sister Lamilieth, who lives in Colombia, asking if she knew where Liliana was. Yamilieth found this phone call strange since she and Gustavo had never had a relationship and he had never contacted her before. Yamilieth reaches out to some of Liliana's friends that are in Florida and requests for them to do a wellness check on her and Daniela. The friends are unable to find them, and Yamilieth report Liliana and Daniela missing later that day. She also discovers that Daniela hasn't been to school in nearly a week. To this day, it is still unclear why. Liliana and Daniela lived in Doral, Florida, in an apartment called Doral Terrace. The police performs a wellness check at their apartment. When they arrive, they discover that the apartment door is locked and Liliana's Toyota Corolla is still parked outside. After they gain entry to the apartment, the police discovers that Liliana's purse, wallet, passport, driver's license, and credit cards are all still in the apartment. There is also food left sitting out on the stove, which made police believe that the two had left in a hurry and had planned to return later. Despite the fact that there were no indications of foul play or a struggle, the police instantly suspected foul play because they didn't think that Liliana would just leave behind her purse and identification. On June 2nd, 2016, Gustavo starts reaching out to various relatives across the country, telling them that he loves them, and he also provides his ex-wife with $5,000 and a new credit card. The same day, he goes and rents a van from the same Home Depot in Hialeah Gardens where Liliana and Daniela were supposedly last seen. The police receive a tip about Gustavo, and they grow concerned and put out a bolo request for him in his van. There are some concerns that Gustavo is planning to hurt himself. By 11:40 p.m. that night, he is discovered in a distressed state in the same Home Depot parking lot. Law enforcement is able to intervene, but not before he stabs himself in the neck. In order to successfully restrain him, police had to utilize a taser, and one of these shots from the taser hits him in his eye, resulting in the loss of that eye.
Particular point that it's been 5 years and we haven't found Liliana or Daniela. And we're just trying to bring this case back to the community, back to light, to try to promote in any way possible any additional leads or any.
Police have reviewed phone records, performed multiple searches, which included the Everglades, and still no additional information has been discovered. The family and the FBI continue to search for Liliana and Daniela. There is currently a $25,000 reward for any information that leads to their whereabouts. If anyone has any information on this disappearance, please call Crime Stoppers. You can be anonymous at 305-471-TIPS.